emergency exits. The one to my left with the exit sign and the main entrance as you walked in. First on the agenda this evening is a special use permit, Route 17M. We have a motion to open the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
And all those in favor? Aye. Okay. And we're missing one, we know one member tonight, but don't know about the second member.
There we go.
Okay. How's it going, Fred? Who do we have representing Route 17M?
Good evening, Avi Weinberg, Weinberg Lim Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, consultants. We are here, went back and forth a few times determining which permit we need to seek. Turns out it is a special use permit. 546 Route 17M, it is a vacant property. Next, it is owned by the same owner as the site next door, 548 Route 17M Pro Site Work. I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with them. He needs more space for storage. There is an existing curb cut that opens up to the firehouse. That is actually his property, but there's an easement for the firehouse there. He had worked out an agreement with the firehouse that they could use this property. And adjacent to the paved area that the fire department uses is a gravel area that the applicant seeks to use, to turn into a storage area of materials. Piping, Belgian block, curb materials, retaining wall blocks, items like that he needs additional storage. It's not open to the public. It's not going to be his main storage area. It's an excess material, so don't anticipate that much traffic or movement in and out, but he just does need to access and to use that site and is seeking a special use permit from this board.
Okay. David, you want to go through your
Sure.
review, please?
Sure, okay. You might notice under the project description, I've added a sort of a tabulation of seeker status, certain referrals and requirements for public hearing. Basically, they're still pending because we're just starting the application, but I'm going to be using that moving forward so that we can kind of keep track of where we are procedurally, okay?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, sure. So here are the comments that we have on the submission. Number one, the applicant has provided a copy of a survey map prepared by Lankin Tully Engineering and Surveying, PC, dated March 1st, 2021, and has listed Lankin Tully as the project surveyor on the application. Although the applicant may provide prior maps as reference materials for the project, Lankin Tully is not acting on behalf of the applicant, and the application should be revised to remove Lankin Tully from the form and resubmitted for the village file. So just to clarify, so our firm was contracted by, I believe it's the applicant, I think it was roughly 6 years ago, to provide a survey map for the property. At the time, I believe we had told them, my surveyors had said that, if there was any applications to the planning board, we would not be able to do those, so it was just a survey map. So, and we'll get to it, there's other comments here about needing to update the survey map to reflect current conditions, okay? But we just want to make it clear that we're not representing the applicant. Number two, the submitted survey map does not bear the signature or seal of a licensed surveyor and is approximately 6 years old. The survey map includes note number 3 indicating that the property line was subject to pending litigation between Route 17M LLC and Monbassia Fire Company. Applicant should advise of the status of any such litigation and provide an updated survey signed and sealed by a licensed surveyor.
So yeah, that's been resolved, and yeah, we'll get an updated survey that clarifies all that, yes. I don't even know, but he told me it's resolved. As a matter, he said they're good friends now. This gravel area that we're talking about, the fire department uses it many times. With his permission when they need, they coordinate with him and use it. I don't know what the dispute was, but he told me it's been resolved, and he understands the need for an updated survey. So yeah.
Okay. Number 3. Based upon recent aerial imagery, which is April 2026, there appears to be concrete barriers placed along the edge of the existing paved driveway. And then I provided an image of that.
Yeah, my client's the one that did that. He put them down.
The client had done that?
Yeah, to demarcate, yes.
Okay, so the blocks were placed by the applicant?
Yeah, and you see there's an opening on the bottom.
Okay.
To
Onto
access.
Route 17M.
What was that?
Going onto Route 17M or to the parking lot?
Here, you see, there's an opening.
Okay, so that's going onto the driveway.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing going on Route 17M then?
No.
Okay.
Okay, number 4, and you mentioned some of this in your introduction, applicant should outline in the narrative and the plan how the property is intended to be used for storage and sale of equipment and materials, what type of equipment and materials will be stored and sold, will customers be visiting the site to pick up equipment and materials, or will all materials be delivered to the customer?
Right, so that's why I specifically mentioned that at the beginning now, that this is for overflow materials. This is not even the main yard where they would be picking stuff up from. It would be, you know, the site next door, which has been in operation, you know, for quite some time.
So no
This is,
customer pickups?
yeah, no customer pickups. This is just overflow area. Yep.
Okay, number 5, there are no parking spaces shown or as existing or proposed. The narrative indicates that the paved access drive is shared between the property owner and the Mobasha Fire Company. Will there be heavy equipment regularly coming in and out of the driveway?
No, not regularly, no. Here and there, occasional truck delivery or something like that, or I don't even know if a delivery, but again, transfer between the two sites. That's it.
Number 6, the proposed use is subject to a special permit which requires specific findings as outlined in 200-48.2 of the Village Code, which is the required findings for special permits. Applicant should provide sufficient information demonstrating conformance with the requirements outlined in this section.
Yes, I'll have to revise the narrative.
Number 7, as the use of the existing driveway is to change, referral to the New York State Department of Transportation should be made to determine if the change in use requires any modifications to the driveway entrance.
Yep.
Number 8, applicant should advise how the facility will be used, how many employees will be using the property, and for what duration. There are no sanitary facilities shown for the property, and the potential need for sanitary facilities should be determined.
Right, so again, no structures, it's just storage of equipment.
Number 9, according to the submitted EAF, the property contains wetlands. The site plan map should identify the boundaries of any wetlands within or near the proposed storage areas. So is the storage area limited to the existing gravel area?
Yes.
It's not expanding
We're
beyond
not
that?
expanding it, yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the wetlands are way in the back.
Is there any intention to try and bridge the gap or the creek, so to speak, between this site and their existing
So it's
site?
funny you mentioned that. When I spoke with the client around a year and a half ago, we had spoken about that. One of the issues then was, you know, the DEC had just taken over all the wetlands. So in addition to being a floodway, which is not a problem, we could deal with that if we needed to. Again, I don't know costs, so let's, one of the big constraints was that, if the wetlands were now DEC regulated, you suddenly have a 100-foot buffer. Have you heard anything? I think they had until yesterday to appeal.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. There was...
Yes, as
we're
I'm
not
sure you've
what
all
the-
heard, the law was struck down by a judge. I believe they had until yesterday to appeal. I don't know. Possibly, again, we don't know costs or anything like that, but, it would also be complicated because it's a FEMA floodway. Not saying it can't be done, but it would have to comply. That's something we would do. So it's definitely something, like I said, right now, I think he just wants the most basic, cheapest way in and out, which would be to keep the existing entrance. But it is something we did speak about, again, should he want to expand, potentially, but I think right now, considering we're just keeping things as is, we would want to keep it.
Okay. Before I forget, I want to go back. It was the tail end of comment number 3. I think I sort of skipped over. So additionally, the parking lot serving the fire company appears to be located within the subject parcel. The survey map and the site plan should be updated to reflect current site conditions and the applicant to clarify ownership of driveway and parking areas.
So again, my understanding is that it's the applicant's driveway with an easement, but again, I think the survey will clarify.
Right, okay.
We'll just get a revised survey.
So basically, the fire company's using that also
Yes, he
So
gifted
there's
a
gotta be
portion
an
of it.
somewhere. for
Yeah,
it.
there is, and like I said, he gifted to the fire department.
That's something that should be put on the plan also,
Yeah, I mean, we'll get a survey, we'll make sure to include the title report, and that'll,
any
yeah,
easement.
Yeah, I'd like to see a copy of the easement too, if you could get that to me.
sure.
Okay, number 10, according to the submitted EAF, portions of the property within the 100-year floodplain. The site plan map should be revised to include the location of the 100-year floodplain. Any construction or development within any areas of special flood hazard would be subject to a floodplain development permit as outlined in section 107 of the Village Code.
Okay, so the main thing is I will definitely put that on the map. We're not in the floodway. In the floodplain, you're allowed to store materials. So, again, we're not proposing anything, but yeah, you're allowed, as required.
You're
by
not filling
FEMA.
anything?
No.
No, okay. Number 11, according to the submitted EAF, the property may contain threatened or endangered species with northern long-eared bats. Applicant should advise if any trees are to be removed as part of the project.
Right, we're not clearing any trees.
No?
So,
Okay.
no.
Number 12, as the project is located within 500 feet of a state highway, referral to the Orange County Department of Planning is required per GML 239. And number 13, a public hearing is required for the special permit.
Okay, so it seems to be, obviously I'd have to update the narrative. I think new survey and a formal response to this, you know, to these comments is what this board would be looking for. Is a motion to open seeker something that can be done now to declare lead agency?
We don't do that at the workshop,
So when would that take place?
at a regular meeting. But I don't know if we're ready to open seeker yet.
We don't know if you need any permits from DOT, but I guess it would make sense to do an intent for lead agency
Okay,
and to circulate that. I think the EAF is complete. The plan, I don't know how different the plan might be though, because the survey clearly is not indicative of current conditions. So it might make sense to wait for you till you have
yeah.
the
for
survey
current
map
conditions.
with the, current
Just-
information.
Just so you guys understand what's going on and okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, I think it has to do with the access, the shared driveway. You
Right,
have the
these-
parking lot for the fire company behind you. I think it makes sense to make sure that you have the, a proper survey map showing current conditions.
Understood. Wetlands delineations, if we're keeping the existing as is, could we just leave that out? Or at least a letter by the wetlands expert
If you
maybe?
can confirm that there's no wetlands that are being impacted and show on the plan the limits of where your storage is to be.
Yeah,
you
if
know.
you pull it up just to clarify, this gets tricky when you're showing existing conditions.
Avi, there's a point here that's easier.
Oh,
Yeah, what do you want me to pull up, Bobby? Which,
no, the actual,
Survey?
No, not the survey layout.
the layout? I could pick up.
will, right, so it just says here. I know it's gonna be hard to
I did see that part. I just want to make sure it was limited to that
Yes,
exclusively and it doesn't go beyond that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we can get letters and we'll get to show them.
So if you can get the survey done by the 28th of May's submission, you can
Right.
submit that, all the material for us
Understood.
by that day.
Yeah, that's, probably won't happen then,
Okay.
surveys do take time.
All right.
Probably need,
Well, I'm just
6 weeks
making
is
you
about-
aware The next submission date is
Yeah.
the 28th of May.
I appreciate that. Yep.
Can I ask a question? How many owners, or is it all one owner? There's 3 parcels here, I've noticed. You've got the, the old Orange and Rockland building on 17M?
Are you talking?
I'm talking about the whole site, yes, there. So you got the little portion on 17M, then you got the larger portion on the side of that, and then you got this area that goes back behind the firehouse, side and the firehouse.
I believe this entire thick outline
Yeah,
is all owned by the applicant.
okay.
Yeah, and then the firehouse is this little piece here.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get at, so there's no lot lines there, are there? I see that it's sectioned out on the drawing. So is it one big lot, or is it broken up into 3?
These are 3 parcels.
Yes,
I think the new
that's what
survey
I'm-
will clarify a lot of these.
because why don't they just do, can't they do a lot line change, a subdivision, and get rid of all those lines, if it's all one owner, and make it one big parcel?
It's an interesting point. The question is, would it even need an approval at that point? It just becomes a lot of change and, I guess what the access may be, but even then, it's
Well-
existing access.
But it's different businesses, though?
No,
It's all the same business.
Yeah, but you don't have approval to use this area by the planning board, right? Even if you were to conjoin the lots, this property, this area has not been permitted by this board for this use.
But, it's just that,
It's an expansion of of a use, correct?
That needs a permit. Let's say if you were to build out at his other site where, he's got.
Yeah,
a
like,
ramp,
I mean,
it's
if
going.
unless you have a site plan that has that shown, then yeah, I would say it's You're expanding on a use
Yeah.
that's been permitted on another property.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the same owner.
Right.
It's all the same business.
Well, it's not, there's two businesses over there. There's Project Supply, and then
Yes.
there's Page.
I think they're sister businesses.
So,
yes.
right, but there's technically two
Yes.
two
Okay,
different-
so
Yeah.
is the owner owning all those businesses,
Yes.
just calls it a different name?
Yeah, so he has two businesses using the same, he has a paving company and then he's got, I think, a general site work company. Funny, I see two different emails.
It
Like,
just
I
doesn't make
work with
sense
them a
why
lot.
they don't do a lot line change and subdivide
Well,
it.
Yeah, if you do that, you could do
Yeah,
that,
do-
but I
do
think
a
you still need a
subdivision.
special permit from the board to utilize
Sure,
this portion of the
But I'm just
property.
saying, because, what do we call this project? I mean, we have trouble naming this project because it's different different addresses,
And
Yes.
it might be a third business as well, you know?
Yeah.
whatever. But
Right.
I'm just trying to understand the site.
Right.
It's kind of difficult,
Right.
Yeah,
so,
understood.
Well, I think the survey map, again, that's
It's
been
gonna be
outdated,
key.
shows the
Right.
entirety of the property, I believe. And the site plan kind of focuses on this portion where the storage
Right,
is.
well, we had confusion, we got it too. We had this survey, then I think he's got the other lot, as a civil tech survey, and we were trying to figure out what's what. We only showed Lake of Tully, because the other one's not even part of the application.
correct.
I think at this point, yes, we'll get a new survey with, title report, all the easements, and then,
And the
That'll be clarification.
two residents on the back going up Angel Drive, is it? That goes to the back, is that part of the property too? There's two residents all the way in the back. If you see the firehouse, go all the way to the back. There's supposed to be one or two residents back there.
this one here, no.
No?
It's on the left, there's two out parcels
Yeah,
that are accessed by an easement to your left.
What, these?
No, to the larger map, to the left.
Oh,
Those are two out parcels, right, that have access by way of an easement?
there's something going on here, yes.
so that's not owned by this same owner?
I think this is not, but I think he owns around it.
Okay,
It looked to me like there's an easement running from the back of the fire district, that
Angel Drive.
that driveway, that's their access.
right, on the side of the firehouse, to get back there, that's where you gotta go.
Right,
On that drive between the AT&T building and the firehouse,
yes.
yeah,
Again, I think, the new survey, the revised survey will have all
okay.
that. Yeah. Okay.
Board have any other questions? Nobody?
So will it just be building material or heavy equipment storage as well?
Building, right, material,
Just material.
yeah.
And it's not gonna be, it's just for storage there?
Yes,
There, and, okay.
yes. It's not gonna be, bulldozers or,
And are
stuff
you
like.
screening it at all from 17M or from the firehouse next to any intention of
And the
that?
firehouse, I think that they have a very nice relationship. I think they'll, if there's an issue, well, I guess maybe they would come, but, 17M, yeah, I could talk to him, see what he got. I'll mention that to him. Right now, it's just pretty much an open area. Right,
Just an open field,
right.
yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I could run that by him, see if he could, put something up
That's a good
there.
point, because it's an open area now, it's gonna be an open area with
Stuff,
loads of stuff on it.
right.
Just on the gravel part,
Which will.
not in the back,
Inside, yeah, I think.
nothing in the back.
He might want it for security
Yeah,
purposes.
right, that too, for sure.
So, if that, let me talk to him about what measures are needed, and then I can definitely put that on the plan.
Mhm.
Yep. Perfect.
Anything else? Everybody good?
Well, Dick, I have some equipment in the back. I don't know which lot that's on, but in the back, there is a piece of equipment. I don't know if it's an excavator or a
Right.
backhoe or something.
I think on the neighboring lot, when I was there probably a year and a half ago, on the neighboring lot, there was something in the back.
Well,
if I
I don't know,
remember
it's
correctly.
new, it wasn't there before. It's an orange, it's an orange color. And I don't know what kind, it's one of those, like a crane,
Oh, like the ramp, like a,
Like a bulldozer,
Excavator, yeah, big
Oh.
axe,
Excavator, yeah,
Right.
like that, yeah.
There's a couple back there.
So,
Yeah.
I saw that already in the back, so I don't know if it's just gonna be materials, or is he
Right.
gonna keep some of his machinery there?
right, again, what he told me is, to use for materials,
And,
and, yeah, again, he does have the machinery next door, he's got a massive shop there, so, yeah. That's,
So if you could just find out.
I will clarify that. yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I guess revised narrative and survey.
And if, the site plan might need to be updated as well, based
Well,
on the survey, but.
Well, yeah, absolutely, we're gonna swap it out, and then, clarify all the easements, and, and any improvements in the front, we'll also make sure to note that. So,
Okay,
Perfect, thank you so much.
thank you. Next on the agenda, is Rest Haven. Who do we have representing Rest Haven?
Yep. Tim Metz.
And Bill Johnson. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm gonna ask one thing, Mr. Mitz. The procedures and the process of the planning board is that every piece of material has to be submitted by the date of submission. When you get our engineer's review, please do not send all these emails to the board, to everybody. Nothing goes to us.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say this one time, everything goes to the planning board secretary. On Saturdays, we're not gonna look at your stuff. It's over. Basically, we have a submission date. Our consultant has other clients that takes care of business. That we don't have the time. If you want us to review it, make the submission date, please, and then we'll have time to review it.
Well, just to clear it, okay? The one document, especially I just gave, there was a comment made on this report.
Okay?
Oh, no, about the occupancy. So I gave it to you so the engineer wasn't gonna be here tonight. So this way,
Well, then-
your engineer had an idea of what was
But
going
then your
on.
engineer's not gonna be here to discuss it tonight with our engineer and with the board, so.
Well, I got the answer, and I know exactly what the answer is.
Then that's the way you should handle it. Don't
Okay.
send it to us.
Okay.
And please, please, we don't want to see emails with every person on this. The planning board secretary gets all the
Okay.
submissions.
I just happened to use a link from before, and
We're not going to look at it.
that's fine.
We're at the beach or something on
Yeah.
a Saturday or
Right.
whatever we're doing.
Not a problem.
We don't have that time. That's why we have a submission date. So
Not a
please,
problem.
in the future, no emails to any of us, not to our attorney, not to our consultant, engineer, not to us. If the submission date is over, we don't have time to look at it.
Okay. No
Okay?
problem.
Please, that's our planning board process. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate
problem.
that.
No.
So Dave, you want to go over yours?
Sure, okay. And again, I have the sort of the chart started here, and we'll fill it in as we get through steps with SECRA and referrals, et cetera. On with the comments, number one, per the provided land use determination form, the applicant currently has 3 open building permits: electrical upgrades, decks, and ADA ramp construction, and fire escape construction for 2nd and 3rd floors that will need to be closed out prior to issuance of a special permit. Any approval by the planning board should include a condition that any or all open building permits be closed out or otherwise resolved to the satisfaction of the building department. Okay?
Agree to, absolutely.
Number 2, village code does not prescribe a parking rate for the adaptive reuse of National Register historic buildings or for a country inn, and instead authorizes the planning board to determine appropriate parking requirements. That's per section 200-61.1C. The plan proposes 54 parking spaces, inclusive of 3 ADA accessible spaces. Parking calculations performed by Teed Engineering PLLC have been provided, demonstrating that 44 parking spaces are required for the restaurant, 6 parking spaces are required for the lodging, and 4 parking spaces are required for the office space, for a total of 54 required parking spaces. The parking calculations indicate that they are calculated based on ITE trip generation and have been calculated based on the building square footage. However, the ITE Parking Generation Manual, 6th edition 2023, appears to show different parking rates than those utilized in the parking calculations. Based on the ITE Parking Generation Manual, a fine dining restaurant in a general urban suburban setting would require 18.12 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet on a Friday night. A square footage of 3,686 for the restaurant would require 67.2 parking spaces. The plan proposes a total of 54 parking spaces. Excluding the 6 parking spaces for the lodging and counting the 3rd floor office space as part of the restaurant, this would provide 48 parking spaces for the restaurant, which is less than the number required by ITE when calculated based on floor area. ITE also allows parking generation based on number of seats at a rate of 0.63 parking spaces per seat. With 48 parking spaces for the restaurant, this would allow up to 76 seats. Applicant to discuss this with the planning board.
Okay, let's clear. First of all, the 3686 is the entire floor. It doesn't take out the calculations, not including the kitchen and stuff. The grid that was given by the engineer was for 2,515 square feet of use of the first floor, not the entire floor. So the calculation by David is not accurate only because we took things out. We're actually, as I said to you from day one, I'm restricting the number of occupancy to the building. And although the engineer says based on this number, we can do 253, I don't want to, and I would concede it in an order, in the final resolution, that we would restrict it to no more than 200 occupancy. We're also focusing on not sit down, more of the bar area. And I had sent a display in, I don't know if Terry has it, but I'd like to show it so I can show you exactly what we're doing. Because of the house age and stuff, we don't know. It's a different environment. It's not like going to Captain's Table where they've been around a long time and they're built out already. We're looking to start small with the dining area and make it more of a bar area. What we've also found is that when we have guests in the house, they don't tend to sit down when we run events. They tend to walk around, look at the house, look at everything that goes on. So we're taking a little bit of different approach, and that's the way his calculations was to make it more about a bar area and not so much food, and start adding the food on as we see how it develops. Now, if we end up going past that 200 at some point, of course, I'm going to come back to the board and say, this is what's going on. I know I can add additional spots and then go through the approval process to expand it. But I just want to do it very slow. That's why I even submitted the cost that you asked for, Gary, Mr. Chairman. And the cost is very low because I only want to do minimum. I've said that since day one. We're doing very minimum to this building.
So I don't think the board knew that. I think the board, our last meeting, we were discussing the maximum amount of people in your restaurant, and you included the bar area too, that people stand around. So basically what you're telling the board tonight is that you're not gonna have a big restaurant. You're just gonna have the bar area and standing room only?
Well, right now, you kind of, I don't know if you have that or not,
Was
but
it one of the most recent things?
yeah, with the yellow marker on it. It may be floor planners, that's it.
Yeah, sure.
Rest Haven floor plan, yeah.
Does
Here's
the-
what they suggested we do. I mean, the restaurant business is hard right now, as we all know. This is the bar area and the dining room. This entire area will be the bar, considered the bar area. It's 570 square feet plus the 520 here. This that says living room, and this area will be the only sit-down area right now. That's it.
So when you say sit down, you're gonna have tables there?
Tables,
And
just in these two rooms only.
So you're gonna have a bar area and you're gonna have a restaurant?
Yes.
Okay, so what's your maximum tables that you're gonna put in there? In other words, we need to see how many tables
I
you're gonna have
believe,
and how many's gonna be at a table.
well, my understanding is the planning board stops at the doorway, they don't go inside their place. But the bottom line number is between 20 and 25 tables,
But
depending on.
My question is not
occupancy.
of going into your restaurant and look.
Yeah.
My question is, what reflects the parking outside the
Well,
building?
that's why we're sticking it at 200, because we want to make sure we got plenty. I'm agreeing to be, no matter, even if it's 300, let's say.
Right.
I'm still agreeing to leave it at 200. The parking space will give me my occupancy, and I've said that since day one. I'm not letting the building dictate the occupancy. I'm letting the amount of parking without disturbing the half-acre land dictate what's gonna be inside. According to, let me just get you the number. Because it's part of the engineer's report that's in your records. In this grid he gave me, we are having, in the bar area, he's talking about 72 people. In the bar, just that two areas. He's talking about 75 people for sit-down. So figure you divide 75 out, 80 out evenly, you're somewhere around 18 to 20 tables. There are 36 by 36 tables.
Okay, but I think this board would like to see the tables and the seating arrangement, not that
We won't know till we get it in there, because even
No,
like,
but that's how we get to the parking calculation. I mean, we've
but
done
I'm
this-
agreeing to the parking calculations based on a dining area.
So I think the issue is that, and again, I think it comes down to how concerned the board may be with the extent of the use, how many people you may have there, and what your parking demand is gonna be, and that you're providing sufficient parking for the facility. And I think what you're saying is, well, I'm not gonna have more people in the restaurant, and I'm not gonna have more seats if I don't have the parking for it. But the board wants to have an expectation of how much parking is gonna be needed based upon what you're proposing as a use.
Again, we're not going above 200. 54, I'm told, is far enough. Listen, how many restaurants you go to, they got plenty of parking, but if you're booked, you're booked. You can't come in. Bottom line. I'm playing it, yes, I'm playing it backwards, but I don't want to disrupt the land either. That's a big issue I have
But then
about,
again, maybe, and this is not our jurisdiction, but the building department wants to know the occupancy side.
So, well, there's a difference between occupancy
Right.
as it relates to the building code and how parking is determined. Parking is determined in two ways in ITE, based on the square footage of the restaurant or the number of seats for the restaurant. There's different clarification. When we did it, we thought you had more of a restaurant. I was looking at a fine quality restaurant, but perhaps if you're using more of a
It's gonna be-
tavern,
yeah, it's
a
gonna be
tavern may
a
have
giant-
it will have a different parking generation rate than a fine, high quality restaurant. But it comes down to the square footage, which would include the kitchen, which I know you had said that you were excluding it in the calculation that was provided.
well, he did, right.
Right, but it would include the kitchen, because a restaurant, no kitchen, no restaurant, okay? So
Right,
it's
I
the square
get that.
footage of that.
I get that.
And the number of seats you could use to establish what the parking would be required for that. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to what the board, is comfortable with, but I think you need to give information so that they have a degree of comfort that parking is gonna be sufficient.
Yeah, I think if we see a table layout in the restaurant and get an idea of what you're gonna have as people, not that you're gonna have it that way 100%, but at least we could see you're gonna have 200 people and how you're gonna seat them.
But we're not seating them, that's the point. The bar area alone is 1,090 square feet. Dining area is 1,131. So whatever I can fit into a dining area that's legal is the number of tables going in there.
Show us what you can fit in there that's legal.
Huh?
Show us what's legal then.
Well, it comes to 18 to 20 tables when you divide it out by 4.
And how many, and you're gonna put 2 to a table, 4 to a table?
No, we're expecting 4 to a table.
All tables would be 4 to a table.
Well, yeah, you assume 4 sides, 4 people, just to be on the safe side.
So basically, then, that's how you're gonna get the parking calculation.
I think it would be helpful to have, if you had put a sketch on the floor plan of where the tables would be, how many seats you're estimating for the use, and so that this board can say, based on a standard for parking, this is how much parking would generally be needed for that type of use.
Well, my concern with putting it on the plan is then I'm committing to where the tables are gonna be. That doesn't mean, sometimes you might have a table, 8 people come in, you move them,
Well,
you
that's a
move them.
different story, but at least let's start with what your configuration is gonna look like. Of course, every restaurant does this, and then every restaurant has more people come in and they put 2 tables together. That's common sense.
Right.
I mean, that's what's gonna happen. But for this board, we wanna see how
Okay.
you're doing the parking calculations as far as how many's on the table.
Well, I'm not, for the board's information, I'll state it again, I'm not going above 4 no matter what. And the
Whatever.
occupancy will be restricted to what is approved for
Just
54
show us how the
spots,
layout's
period.
gonna, how the layout's gonna be for your amount of people.
Okay, I don't see the relevancy, but I'll do it. I think knowing how many tables are gonna be in
I
the
think our
room.
engineer explained to you. the-
That's fine. I'll spend the money and get it.
Well, it's every applicant that comes before this board that provides a site plan has to show that there's
We've done this in
sufficient
the
parking
past
for
with
the use.
restaurants.
And again, 54, I'm not exceeding, so if you tell me it's 100 occupancy with 54, then occupancy's gonna be 54, and that'll be stipulated in the agreement.
And we'd like to see the table layout.
And like I said, when you say occupancy, there's a difference between occupancy and the building code and what they determine, as opposed to what ITE, how they would calculate the required number of parking spaces for the use,
Okay.
okay? So just be mindful of that as you have your consultant do that, okay? Number 3, At the April 13th, 2026 Planning Board meeting, the Planning Board requested a proposed floor plan for the building. We recommend the applicant provide a floor plan showing the proposed number of seats. Okay, so we just talked about that. Number 4, the grading, utility, and erosion and sediment control plan, sheet 3, indicates the total disturbance area is .4988 acres, which is just slightly less than the half-acre threshold for requiring preparation of a full SWIP. Our office recommends that a note be added to the plans that prior to construction, the limits of disturbance be staked out in the field to ensure that actual disturbance is kept within the proposed limits.
Well, I think that one was agreed to last time. So just so I understand, when I see repeat comment and I don't see something like, or agreed, because we agreed to it,
Is that note on the plan?
huh?
Is that note on the plan?
Yes, you had them put that on the plan.
Oh, I didn't think it was, but okay.
Yeah. I believe it was.
On the, what was the last plan updated?
It was about the erosion.
Or is that what was submitted today?
No,
That
I
note?
thought it was,
No, that, we added 2 notes at the bottom, 23 and 24 there, and the rest of your notes, but, I forgot what that was.
Can you pull it up?
erosion.
Yeah, we just want to know what the last revision date was, that's all.
The last revision date was 4/29/26, and I just gave him a sheet. We revised the first sheet today, and that's 5/11/26.
Okay, so we don't have that then. Dave?
I'm just gonna look to see
Yeah.
what I had on my map.
No,
That
I just handed him
See, that's why we want everything
I'm
done
gonna
at one
hand you a
time.
sheet
We're
tonight.
confused, we don't know what we got and when it came, and it
Yeah, no,
can't
we-
come on
yeah.
separate dates.
Number 4, we've been speaking about, and we both agreed that they need to come back and check
I'm not
it.
arguing with you about
Right.
that, but we gotta make sure that we have everything.
Yeah.
That's all.
Right, and again, if that note was added to the plans, then we missed it. But the
Okay.
reason is, we just wanna make sure that there's a note on the plan that's saying that that's
Okay.
gonna be staked out prior to construction, okay?
Yeah, I don't see it here, and I don't have it, I do have a
Page
full
1?
set, but it might be on the erosion control plan, I don't know. Been a while.
Now, you want to come out and check it after everything's completed, I'm assuming, not during,
Check what?
check the parking lot area and make sure it didn't exceed a half acre.
I mean, we're gonna look to make sure that you're
Right, once
complying
it's
with the site,
completed,
with the
right.
approved site plan. If the board actually does approve the site plan, we wanna make sure that it complies.
Yeah, yeah.
Dave, you gotta make sure that note's on there.
Yes, and again, like I
But
said,
again, I don't think.
it's
I'm not
possible
sure
that
if
we
is,
missed it, but
because I don't know if the engineer even sees it on there yet. And which revision
And
date
at a
it was.
glance, I don't see it.
I see,
So,
mine goes up to note number 22 on sheet 1.
Right.
what was
And then today, we added 23 and 24.
So, and this
Okay.
is why, again,
Is it note 22?
we would not want to have some submissions made after the submission date.
Right, this is the confusion that we get.
Okay.
So
Well, I haven't
please-
received Dave's letter today.
Correct, yeah, so, I mean, we just want to go through the
So we
comments and
thought
not,
we would get it here just so you have it.
We don't need it here. When Dave sends out to our secretary to send out to everybody his comments, it doesn't mean that you gotta do it knee-jerk reaction that day. We send it out as a courtesy so you are aware of what we're gonna speak and talk about during the meeting. And then you can update it after the meeting if you want.
Understood.
So, you know.
So we
the-
agree to that, number 4.
The
Yeah.
submission from our engineer doesn't mean that you gotta go hurry up and do everything Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for today's meeting. That's the point we're trying to make.
Okay.
If you updated it and you have it like you just said, then when we get the final submission for us to review again, then Dave will check it. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
okay, number 5, it is our understanding that the applicant proposes a restaurant that is to be open to the public. Unless one is currently in place, a grease trap should be provided to serve the kitchen sewer line. The applicant has previously indicated this will be coordinated with the health department. Okay?
Yep.
Number 6, we note the code prohibits exterior illumination between the hours of 11 PM and 6 AM, except when the planning board finds that said illumination would not impact an adjoining use. That's section 200-61.1I. We recommend noting the hours of illumination on the plan or adding a note prohibiting exterior illumination between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. The use of motion detectors was discussed at the prior planning board meeting.
We
That-
agree.
I mean, that's up to the board. If you want motion detectors on there, then as long as I know now, I'll have them put on, then
Well, the police department will give us the final answer of that.
Huh?
The police department will give us a final answer, like for security lighting.
Well, no, I think you're right. I think it's relevant to having them. I'm not even gonna say I'm gonna wait for the police department to tell me
I
anything.
know, but again, this is
'Cause I-
gonna go to the police department, the lighting plan, so they can review it
Yeah,
for
yeah.
security.
I'm just worried about
purposes.
costs that you've been asking for, so that's why I would just add it in and be done with it
That's fine.
without them.
Comment number 7, it essentially just talks about having the planning board requested that the plans be forwarded to the police department for review of the security lighting. We recommend noting the hours of illumination on the plans prior to being sent to the police department.
I spoke with Chief Guzman. I did forward him plans, and he said he'd rather go through channels, having the plans come from you to him.
It comes, the final plans come from us to the police department.
Okay, but I sent them,
We,
and,
we work with the police department as we do
Oh.
the building department.
Yep.
We all work together.
Okay, number 8, the plan has been modified to include a gravel curtain drain at the edge of the proposed parking lot, as was previously discussed. The proposed swale and berm appear to direct the concentrated discharge in the area of the proposed driveway. The site visit will be conducted to review the topography in this area to determine if stormwater runoff will be discharged to the roadway or to the adjoining property. So that's on me. I'm gonna go take a look at the site
Right.
and see about the topography there and where that's gonna be draining, okay?
So you haven't done that yet.
I haven't been able to do that yet. Number 9, village code requires a performance bond to be filed with the village board concurrent with site plan approval. The applicant shall provide a construction cost estimate of all site plan improvements for review. Number 10, the code requires special use permit applications for the adaptive reuse of National Register Historic Buildings to be forwarded to the New York State SHPO for review and comment. The code authorizes the planning board in its discretion to retain a qualified historian to assist in the review of any application. The applicant previously provided an email letter from SHPO dated March 9th of 2026 indicating they previously issued approvals for the ADA upgrades, the fire escape, and the commercial hood for the kitchen. I've spoken with Sarah McIvor of the SHPO, who indicated that plans for the project have been accepted by their office. It was agreed during that call that prior to making a secret finding, the planning board will send a written request to SHPO asking for confirmation of the acceptability of the revised plan.
agreed.
Number 11, the applicant has provided sanitary sewage flow calculations prepared by Teed Engineering PLLC, showing an anticipated sewage flow of 3,996 gallons per day. The applicant has also provided the property's previous water consumption per quarter for the past 19 quarters. The most recent quarter, quarter 1 of 2026, had a consumption of 7,397 gallons, or 82 gallons per day. The highest quarter provided was 2021 quarter 3 with a consumption of 45,106 gallons or 501 gallons per day. Approval from Orange County Sewer District Number 1 will be required for increased sewer flows. Okay?
I've been speaking with them. The engineer's gonna determine, he doesn't think there needs to be changes, but we'll still, I've already got information on them, including application.
Number 12, the applicant should confirm with the building inspector whether or not a sprinkler system is required. We understand that the applicant still needs to complete a Chapter 14 performance compliance sheet. We are aware that the applicant was previously granted relief from the requirement for sprinklers by the Department of State in 2020. However, as can be found in that decision, the decision, quote, is limited to that specific building and application before it, and the Department of State, and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. That decision was made in the matter of Rest Haven Adult Care Facility and is not applicable to this new application. Applicant should provide the village building department with an updated performance compliance sheet for review.
All right, the building department has not issued anything to me requesting such. I know that 2 weeks ago, he spoke to Neil Collier. Neil Collier is New York State.
I know.
You know who he is. And Neil told him he had to follow, actually, now it's chapter 13, not chapter 14. They changed it, of course. And this morning, we submitted a new one, updated one, along with the architectural plans of the building that have not changed, to the building inspector. And I spoke to Neil Collar about it. He says they're gonna give me the same exact approval. It's the Golden Grill, because they don't want the house touched. And,
I understand that.
but, I want to sit and talk with the building inspector, but he wants to repel phone calls, or I also today asked him for something in writing, so I protect myself. But I haven't received anything other than 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, he was rejecting this process altogether, because he told me he didn't know about this. And not a lot of people do, because it's about historical properties. It's not about your normal build,
I had a conversation with the building inspector, so.
okay? So,
I'll talk to him. We spoke about the form. He understands the form.
okay, I hope he
So-
does now.
Well, he did last month too, when I spoke with him, but
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'll talk to him again.
Okay, that's fine, if you could. It's a complex thing, I get it.
Right.
It's a complex thing, but
I'll talk with him.
but Collar's aware of it, and he says if I gotta go up there, it's gonna be approved. I'd rather not waste the time, both our time and your time, meaning the building department.
We just want to make sure that
Yeah.
it's fire safety
Yeah, oh, I agree.
for
I
the lives
agree.
of the people that go to the restaurant or the bed and breakfast.
I get it.
So
I get
we're
it.
concerned about, the people.
Yeah,
So-
so am I.
I
So
know.
am I.
So
You know
that's why
that.
we got to work together
Okay.
on this.
Yep. All right, not a problem.
Is the floor plan that you provided the same as the floor plan that was provided earlier today?
Exact same floor plan.
Because that floor plan still says adult home care facility.
The floor, what they had me do is they just had me do a rendition, whatever you call it, of the building back then. So it's the same exact house. It doesn't matter what the label says. It's the same exact house. And I'm
I
not
mean, you
paying
can review this with the
$12,000.
building inspector, but
Yeah.
the building inspector has to review it against the proposed uses,
Right.
okay?
That-
Use is the old use.
That's fine, but he can
So-
also come there with those plans and check the house and see if it's the same plans, not make me spend $12,000, because that's gonna be a problem for him.
Well,
I'm not spending that money for the same house,
okay, well,
but we'll deal with
we'll
it.
leave the comment
deal
indicating
with
that the fire sprinkler system is required until we're advised otherwise from the building department.
Correct.
Okay. Number 13, the plans were referred to the chief of the Monroe Joint Fire District, who provided a letter indicating that the plans were acceptable and that there would be no issues maneuvering in the parking area or around the building. Again, that's just informational, so we don't lose track of that. Number 14, the previously submitted narrative indicated that the existing well is within a concrete tank that is roughly 19 feet deep and 3 feet round with tile walls, and that it is to be used solely for irrigation. As stated in the provided correspondence from the Orange County Department of Health, the Health Department does not permit any interconnection between an individual irrigation well with the potable water system. We recommend confirming that there is no connection between the individual well and any potable water system, and confirm this during a site visit. If no connection is found, we recommend a note be added to the plan stating that the on-site well is only to be used for irrigation purposes, and that any connection to the potable water system will require approval from the Orange County Department of Health.
Totally agree.
That note's added, no.
Number 15, the proposed restaurant is subject to a food service establishment permit from the Orange County Department of Health.
And that application's been submitted for review.
Okay, number 16, regarding the submitted short EAF form, questions numbers 13 and 14 should be completed by the applicant.
Done.
And B, as advised by prior planning board attorney Cassidy, this should be considered an unlisted action. And 17, the plan proposes a 6-foot-high vinyl fence along the rear property line. We recommend that the applicant provide a rendering or photo image of the decorative fence for the board's review.
There is a rendering in the plans you have,
There's a detail, right?
and it shows a picture of
I guess
It's not a picture.
I'm just recommending that
detail.
the board may want to know as part of its architecture review what the fence is going to look like. Other
Material,
than, yeah.
Find out where they put that fence
Color.
up somewhere else and take a picture.
It's the same fence. I have, I already submitted the plans to the building department.
Well,
That's holding them up.
you already submitted a permit for
The
the fence.
permit for that,
2 permits, one for the fence and one for the garbage.
correct.
Yeah.
Because those are gonna be, because when I last in front of you, like I said with the
Right.
fence, it's the exact same fence that's on the property now, being done by Biltwell. He's sitting on those permits.
We're not disagreeing with
No,
you,
no, I
but
know.
It's a different
Just so you know.
use. It's a whole different application, so we gotta make sure, just give it to us, that's all.
Okay,
From the last time, that's all.
okay.
Number 18, in accordance with Village Code 200-72E4, a public hearing is required.
Any questions?
The only thing, does the EAF have to be updated for the outside agencies?
We did that.
That was,
I think it was, because I don't think we had.
that was done on the last submission.
Yeah, and I think they just submitted,
Which is number 2, right?
Village of Monroe, Planning Board, and Orange County Department of Health.
And that would be the sewer and the water,
Yes.
Orange County Department of
environmental
Health.
facilities is on there, right? County environmental facilities?
Orange County Department of Health.
That's for the food services.
Okay, but there's nothing on, the EAF that I have in front of me doesn't have the County Health Department.
Here, let me look at what was submitted.
Or District Sewer number 1.
Correct, yeah. It's not on
SHPO is not on there,
there.
another outside agency.
That's true, too.
And I don't know if you have to put the emergency services, the police department, fire department.
They don't,
They don't necessarily be on.
yeah, they're, I mean, they're an advisory, I guess, but they're not issuing a permit or approval.
Right, so the EAF really just, if you can update it for those agencies.
Yes.
Just so we're all equal.
You'll send me that, Dave?
Yes.
The board have any other questions or anything? We're good?
I'm going to ask you an obvious question. How many more of these meetings at workshop do you think we need to where we can move?
It's up to you to get all this information to us.
Now, things keep changing just like now.
It's not changing.
Well, the additional stuff that have to be added to the thing, but okay,
Well,
I get the
this-
answer.
This board needs to go to seeker, and we need the village code to be updated, to go with the code. So that's what we're asking for.
Okay,
It's not that we're trying to make extra work for you.
okay.
We're going by the law. We go by law.
Well, I went by the law 6 years ago.
Well, that was for different use. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Next on the agenda, 386 Route 17M.
Hello.
Who do we have representing?
Good evening. Joel Mann. I've tried to turn back the clock to see which day there is today. So
I missed you.
nice. I missed you too. Okay. So
You want us to go through our review?
I have the owners here too, as requested.
Thank you.
I think I'm not sure if you want to give me a presentation first on where we are, because the review are more like technical comments that I don't think we are at that stage right now, and it's not being addressed, so I don't want to waste anyone's time.
If you want to go ahead and do yours first,
Sure.
That's fine. Thank you.
So this property has a history. Will not say good or bad, but again, it has a history. There was, when they started to move over, they were forced out from a place, and they came, landscaping business came over in this place. To be honest with you, I dealt with 4 or 5 building inspectors during that period of time, and I believe that was a part of the miscommunication and confusion that happened there. They are good people, and they want to comply, that they didn't violate it intentionally, anything. Again, they're working with me, and they're working with the building department, and with the attorney, with the court, with the schedule, and they're here to finish up everything as required by the board, as required by the village zoning law. One of the issues that was a core issue on that property was the mix of residential and commercial that appeared to be something that the board had an issue, and I understand that. We were trying once, we were trying twice. I have now the last submittal, we changed and tried to accommodate also, so we removed one structure, left the bigger structure, because I explained, it's a financial issue. It's in every existing building that has some revenue. They're not a big business, they're a small business, and they're trying to grow with the time. The plan is, the long-term plan will be to remove that, but for the interim, they want to first settle on this property to the minimum, because once they're settled financially, they will move ahead and they can remove that. But for now, for this approval, they would like to keep it as they have the rent income that helps them pay their mortgage. But again, the smaller one, it's not that big. It's not that big financial hardship issue, and it makes a big difference to remove that. So we were trying to fence around the residential area. We build a sidewalk connection, so whatever, if kids are coming, they can directly cross over to the residential building, and they have their dedicated parking spaces. It's one last try if this can work. The other option will be, I have an option here, but I would like first to discuss. The other option will be basically to scratch everything, build one big building. That's the long-term plan for them. But again, they're a small business. They didn't want to go that route. So with that, I understand there's some comments about the bins, whatever. That's like I will call it technical. We can work around with that. There's a lot of comments from the engineer, from Dave, and we are here to comply and work with the board and be on top to move this as fast as possible. So with that, I want to give the board to give me the input if we can move ahead with something like that, or with some twists, or they want to no residential.
Well,
Then
would you like
whatever.
our consultant to go over the engineering?
If they,
Okay.
whatever it's necessary. Hi, David.
Hi, John.
Okay. Old faces in
Old
a new
familiar
chair.
faces.
Yeah.
Did you say old faces?
No, yeah.
Young face.
What?
Yours is a young face.
You don't see what's behind it. I sprayed my hair.
Like you did
It's
5
white.
years ago.
I try. Overwhelmed. So
You're
Okay.
doing good.
I try.
Comment number 1. As noted in the land use determination form provided by the building department, sale and storage of lumber and building materials is permitted under a special permit following section 200-48. Accordingly, the planning board may approve the special use permit application provided that it finds that all of the following conditions and standards have been met. I'll skip through this, but that's, if you don't mind, that's all of the special permit
Yep.
criteria. Number 2. During the February 9th, 2026 planning board meeting, the applicant stated that the residential building is a multifamily apartment building with 4 units. We recommend identifying the residential building as a multifamily apartment on the plans and recommend including the number of units and the number of bedrooms. Number 3, the bulk table notes the proposed rear yard is 51.6 feet. Since the existing 1.5-story dwelling is proposed to be removed, the proposed rear yard should be 54.1 feet. We recommend the bulk table be revised for consistency. Number 4, the proposed side yard for the 50-foot by 100-foot storage building is shown as being exactly 20 feet, which meets the requirements. However, it would provide 0 tolerance for construction of the building. It is recommended that the building side yard be increased somewhat to allow for construction tolerances and avoid any need for a variance.
Mr. Higgins, could you expand on that?
Well, so the side yard requirement there is, it's 20 feet. So if they propose the building to be 20 feet from the side, from the property line, if they were to build it exactly as shown,
It's basically
they wouldn't need a variance. But
right.
if
It's my
the
risk.
building slightly off or the siding
Yeah.
projects into the side yard, then eventually when they come to do an as-built, they're gonna show, not 29.8 feet.
I see.
It's gonna be
But-
less than the
But
requirement.
I was always under the impression that the side yard is counting for that too, because otherwise make it 21 feet and done. Just kidding. I don't know.
I mean, I
But
can
whatever.
tell you on
It's
behalf
fine.
of clients that I have.
I'm not so tight there. I have no issue moving it.
I've had incidences where we've shown, 30 foot 2 inches, and they still go across the
I know.
side setback
Yep.
line, and then you're like,
It's impossible when you stake it.
encroaches on that
right,
side. Yeah,
and then you're like, what do you mean I have to go for a variance?
right.
Okay.
I'm just trying
No
to
problem.
help you avoid
It's fine.
problems.
That's fine. Yeah.
Number 5, at the February 9th, 2026 planning board meeting, the planning board suggested requesting a determination from the building department as to whether the proposed landscape material storage bins are accessory structures and if they need to be relocated. A request was made by my office to the building department for a determination. On May 7th, 2026, Assistant Building Inspector Brian Berberina determined that the proposed bins are to be considered accessory structures and must therefore meet the requirements of section 200-26.2, which restricts accessory structures from being located in the front yard except for limited listed exceptions.
Just one clarification, the front yard meets anything from the front face of the building till the road, or it's just in the setbacks? Because otherwise, I didn't want to, and we can put it in the back, I want to keep it away from the neighbors. That's the reason we put it more close to the front, so it's like,
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if his decision clarified that.
I'm not sure. I can't
You
figure
have a
it
copy
out.
of his decision?
Yes, I have it in the email.
It says here, Village Code 200-26.2 restricts accessory structures from being located in the front yard except for limited listed exceptions.
I'm not sure what that means because it can be in the side yard, even the setback, but not in the front yard. So I'm
That's-
wondering if that means setback or a building, so.
I think that means any, because the code defines the front yard as any part of the property between the building and the street line. So technically, I think your bins are right now shown in the front yard.
Okay, we'll have to figure out the location.
But again, you're free to talk to the building inspector about it and find out if there's an interpretation that's not consistent with what we're talking about.
Sure.
I mean, the alternative is a variance.
Right.
Right.
Again, if we have the basis for it, we can go for it, but we'll see going forward.
Okay, number 6, Village Code, Section 200-34D requires non-residential uses to provide a fire lane approved by the fire chief for access by emergency vehicles at all times. In cases where fire lanes cannot be provided, the site plan shall be presented to the fire chief with a written explanation from the applicant for why a fire lane cannot feasibly be provided in the opinion of the applicant. We recommend the proposed location of a fire lane be provided on the plans and for the plans to be presented to the fire chief for comment. Number 7, it is our understanding that portions of the property were filled in without a permit or approval. As discussed during the February 9th, 2026 planning board meeting, we recommend providing the source of the utilized fill and for the areas of fill to be tested. We also recommend identifying the areas where fill was previously placed. Number 8, the limits of the floodplain should be shown on the existing conditions plan. Number 9, disturbance within the floodplain will be subject to a floodplain development permit to be obtained from the Village Building Department in accordance with Chapter 107 of the Village Code. Number 10, plan should note who delineated the on-site wetlands and when the delineation was performed. Applicant should confirm the jurisdiction of the wetlands by U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Disturbance of wetlands will be subject to permitting requirements by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and/or New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Number 11, Village Code, Section 200-44I prohibits loading spaces from being located within 200 feet of any residential district boundary. A 200-foot offset from the SR10 zoning district has been provided on the plans. A loading dock has been provided on the plan that appears to have been shown within the 200-foot offset. Unless the loading areas are relocated, a variance will be required. Number 12, the plan proposes perpendicular parking with two-directional flow with 24-foot wide maneuvering lanes. Village Code requires a minimum maneuvering lane width of 26 feet. Number 13, the parking calculations indicate 10 parking spaces required for the residential use and 5 parking spaces for the lumber yard use for a total of 15 spaces. Although the parking calculations table indicates a total of 27 parking spaces are provided, a total of 48 spaces are shown, inclusive of the trailer and truck parking. Table should be revised for consistency. Number 14, 2 dumpster enclosures have been shown on the plan in the vicinity of the commercial buildings. The proposed dumpster enclosures must be located outside of the required building setback per section 200-34H. The applicant should address refuse collection for the residential dwelling that is to remain. Number 15, existing and proposed utilities shall be shown on the plans. Number 16, from the EAF dated October 9th, 2024, it is stated that 0.92 acres will be disturbed by the project, in that case based on Village Code 168-11. Any proposed action with more than half an acre of disturbance is classified as a land development activity. And 168-12A states that no application for approval of a land development activity shall be reviewed until the appropriate board has received a stormwater pollution prevention plan in accordance with the specifications in this article and Article 1 of this chapter. Therefore, a SWIP will be required. Number 17, a turning analysis should be provided. Number 18, site distances for the driveway shall be provided. Number 19, pursuant to Village Code 200-72I1B, the following will need to be provided on or along with the site plan unless waived by the planning board. Existing school zoning and special district boundaries within 100 feet of the tract. Location of all existing and proposed water lines, valves, and hydrants, all sewer lines and other utilities. A detailed lighting plan showing proposed location, direction, and type of outdoor lighting. Proposed contours with intervals of 2 feet. Boundaries and identification of existing soil types as may be found in the soil survey of Orange County. A separate landscape plan showing both existing and proposed landscaping, retaining walls and tree plantings, including a note on the plan indicating that all approved landscaping will be maintained in perpetuity. Details of dumpster enclosures, a note specifying hours of operation. Number 20, the plans do not identify the existing pipe racks and covered storage as to be removed. The applicant should advise if these are to remain, as the proposed landscape buffer will likely impair their use. Number 21, Village Code Section 200-32C requires a landscaping plan for all uses aside from a single-family detached dwelling, a two-family residence, or an agricultural use. Landscaping is also subject to Section 200-44J and 200-45J. Number 22, pursuant to Village Code Section 200-32E, a tree plan shall be submitted. Any trees greater than 8 inches in diameter should be marked on the plan. The plan shall indicate whether existing trees shall be removed or preserved, and the plan shall make provisions to preserve existing trees to the greatest extent possible. Other natural features should also be marked on the tree plan, including ground cover, shrubs, vines, flowers, lawns, and similar natural plant formations. It's our understanding that significant tree clearing has already been done by the applicant without a permit or approval. Number 23, the limit of disturbance should be shown on the plan. Number 24, details should be provided. Number 25, at the February 9th, 2026 Planning Board meeting, the board discussed coordinating a site visit when the snow melted.
Good news, it's melted.
Thankfully, it's melted. Things are looking up. All right. Number 26, an EAF was previously provided indicating the potential presence of endangered species or habitat, northern long-eared bats. Plan should indicate appropriate mitigation measures, for example, limiting tree clearing between April 1st and October 31st. Number 27, the previously submitted EAF form should be resubmitted for consistency with the current plan. Any agencies from which permits or approval are required should be identified in question 2 of the EAF. Number 28, the project is subject to architectural review per section 200-73. Number 29, modifications to the driveway along with any other work within the New York State Route 17M right-of-way will require a permit from the New York State Department of Transportation. Number 30, this application will require referral to the Orange County Department of Planning for a review pursuant to GML 239 based on proximity to a state highway. Plan should be more developed prior to this referral. And number 31, a public hearing will be required.
So I guess the question is the board satisfied with this layout?
Well, it sounds to me like it's evident there's a large number of items that need to be addressed.
Well, those are the technical issues, but as far as the concept, having a residence living right in the smack middle of a commercial business with a fence around it, the site, the way it's laid out.
No. I think the residence in the middle is not good.
I have to agree with you. Yeah.
Here's my question. Before we get to this, there were a huge number of, are there a large number of violations that appeared to set the property? Were those ever addressed?
Most of it, besides what we need for planning board approval, were addressed. Yes.
But what was left unaddressed?
There was filling done on the property that they sent us, that's one of the reasons they sent us to the planning board. So that will be addressed there. But besides some building issues.
What were the clear-cut trees?
What?
What were the trees that were clear-cut?
That will be, it's nothing I can do with the building department. It's something that will be addressed there. If you will require some mitigation and plantings, that will be mitigated there.
But don't they have to go back and show us what it was originally was before they cut the trees down?
Well, that was part of, some of the comments that we talked about was a tree survey to show what's there, an
Right.
area of disturbance, and then the SWIP report is supposed to address
Everything how it was
the trees that would
originally.
have been there
Right.
before they were
Right, because
Yeah.
now
cut without a
without
permit.
the trees there, you have soil erosion,
Right.
so,
We'll count, even though they added some stone areas, whatever, all disturbance, we'll count everything like we disturb it from scratch now. So we're not deduct that from the calculations.
I guess the question I have is, the board accepted this layout? Do we accept that layout?
So again, the residents are, it's under one ownership, so they are the owners there, and they are tenants. It's not like that
So the owner lives there?
the owner doesn't live there.
Oh,
It's rented out. But again, it's not like sometimes you have like different owners living next or surrounded by a commercial area. So I'm doing my commercial and bothering my neighbor that's not on my lot. I think it's a little bit to look at it at a different point of view when I'm the owner of this lot. If the tenant has an issue, when they signed, they know this is this was always commercial. So when they signed the lease, they know they're in the middle of a commercial property, and they agree to that. They have no complaint. If they had a complaint, they will come to the public hearing or whatever, given a complaint. So it's
so
like,
I guess what I'm asking the board, we really I haven't seen, speaking for myself, a commercial business in the village of Monroe having a residence smack in the middle. I've seen businesses outside of Monroe that have landscaping, or I should say a nursery, you know, but the residents don't live smack in the middle of it. They live all the way up front outside of the site. So that's why I'm asking the board.
Are we sure that's even safe?
Well, that's.
we fenced it around. So we fenced it around.
Don't you guys use various chemicals for landscaping and that are potentially?
Where's what?
Various chemicals for landscaping that are potentially carcinogenic and dangerous?
I'm not sure. Why should it be more dangerous to someone there than any other neighbor, that we make sure that everything is being kept on the property? It's like we made the fencing around. We have the property by itself. We made the buffer. We looked very much to make sure that we're not bothering other residential neighbors. That's why we put the big buffer in the back. Otherwise, we will do the full thing commercial. I have another option.
One or the other, it seems like, you know, go commercial.
Basically,
Yeah.
I have no choice.
Right.
It's a commercial property.
Right.
Basically, max out the property based on the zoning. Not fine. We don't
It's zoned for
mind
general
that.
business?
Yeah.
That should be okay. Yeah, should be.
GB, you can still have.
But you have SR10 behind it,
Right.
so. I just feel that the safety of people that are gonna live there, if they have children, you know how kids are, you know.
So that's the reason now we have no fence.
I mean, I guess my question is, why do you want to keep the residential? What is the purpose of having a resident in the middle of your business?
I think he said it was.
Just financial. They're getting, it's 4 units. So we have 4 units, and then we have the other one is a single unit base. So
But
single
then-
unit building, we're removing.
So financial means that if you get rid of that, you're gonna go out of business maybe because you're not making enough
No.
money, or?
It's
Well,
not, it's,
explain the financials.
the problem is, they have, when they purchased this, they took out a mortgage, they have a loan on it. They have now 4 existing tenants, they're paying rent, that help them pay the mortgage. So, it's part of the value of the property. When you take it down, you lose that income.
I understand that.
And rebuild it back, in these days, is more expensive than purchasing the property,
I
based
understand.
on cost of construction.
It's just very, very difficult, I'm not speaking for the board, I'm speaking for myself, to see a resident smack in the middle of a business, and a business where you do have machinery. And my first concern, and as this board's concern, as a planning board, is the health, welfare, and safety of people. That's our main intent, why we're
Right.
really here.
So give me any type of conditions or buffers of something to keep them safe.
Well, the point is this, you can't always plan for the contingencies of what a kid's gonna do, or
Exactly.
where someone's gonna wander, and
Let's say if this stays residential, we're not doing any expansions. I'm not building that building. This is not legal commercial. We can have the landscaping on it. I'm not doing the big building on the right side. Oh, you don't have the proposed plan? There's a 50 by 100 Can you
They're
go,
both the same, right?
can you go to another page? Yes, this
Yeah,
one.
that one.
So for example, if I'm not doing that building, then basically I'm keeping the commercial on one side and the residential is on the other side. It's being more separated, but still, that residential in the middle, there's other commercials here, there's commercials around there. It's in a commercial area.
The commercial that's next to it is what, the James Motel?
I don't know.
Yeah, there's James Motel
So
next
that's
door.
not, that's a different,
Still cars,
that's a
traffic
different kind
lights.
of creature than,
Yeah, it's not right on the
Landscaping.
site.
I
In
understand.
other words, the James Motel has, people that, rent the rooms for the evening or whatever. This is where they're gonna live, And you have a garden center across the street also. But there's no house in the middle of that. It's just a business. You have a gas station. It's just a business. So it's just all businesses, no residential mixed. This is a mixed type of plan that you have, commercial and residential.
It's just a concept. It's not like this is the final plan. I need to customize it based on that. Whatever, basically a flat, it's a one-story, two-story building, parking around it.
So this is eliminating the two houses, correct?
Correct.
Right.
But it's going to create that financially, you will have to go to a bigger building. That's not what you want. But again, you will have to do it to make sense financially. When you take down the residential buildings.
So what building does he have to go, right now, where's the offices?
Everything is in this building, right now.
Okay,
And then he has the space, the outdoor area. So I try to keep everything at that side. It's very clustered. Doesn't have the space. I was trying to have multiple layouts in that.
yeah. Again, the business is fine, but having a resident in there is difficult.
That seems like
I think you're trying to do too much in one piece of, it's a nice piece of property. and-
Overutilizing it.
Yeah.
You're overutilizing the property. You've got commercial and residential. And I just worry about the danger.
What?
I worry about the danger. It's,
Is there anything that you want to add?
just that it was like that like for years.
Or was it, the mix was like that?
well,
3 years,
originally
but
it
not
was a
that
beauty
big.
salon.
Huh?
Originally it was a beauty salon.
Yeah, right.
And then the house was on fire, then it went to another use after the beauty salon moved out.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, we have history of this. We've seen this before.
Okay.
So,
Now we have the historian here. Okay.
again, I just have,
That's the reason we have proposed a sidewalk and a crossing. Once they get out of the sidewalk, they're getting into the property, they're being gated in with a nice piece of grass around there. They have more grass than a lot of houses close nearby
the
are
grass is
having.
not gonna give you safety. Okay?
Fence.
Maybe you put up a wall, a cement wall, that's more of talking about safety now, okay? But it's not gonna look pretty.
No.
So, you get my point.
Yes.
It's just, we've never done anything like this before. The risk that we see, for danger for people, that's the most important part that what we're looking at.
Again, the other option, I think the other option was to, and I was trying not to do that, so we can push everything. We can take this building, put it more to the back, clean up, it's like split the property into two.
Yes.
So that means one side will be the commercial, one side the residential. Is that something that can be, but I will have to use out the buffer. It's a self-created buffer, but again, when it's residential, we'll not have a buffer, but we're having commercial, you will definitely need to use the buffer in
And
order
then-
to be able to.
And you can't make another driveway out to 17M just for the residents, could you?
I was just thinking
No,
that.
because we have, it's a stream crossing.
Right, so that means you gotta go to DEC and that may take forever.
Take forever and all the culvert, it's a lot of, it's very
Right.
expensive.
Right, I know. So you'd have to have an easement to use,
I'm not going to subdivide it. It's
oh,
like what I'm saying is just, will, in design concept, We'll try to split it.
So what-
Everything on the other side.
What your goal would be is to isolate the residents from the business.
Correct. So basically, right after the entrance, you'll make a right to the residential,
Right.
and left to the business.
That's not a lot. So we
Wow.
lose a lot of that. It's not a lot.
You lose too much of
Where
the
else we build
space.
a new building?
We'll already go in the pool. Okay. So, that is where it is. Fine. We'll fine tune that, and we'll submit it.
Yeah, let's see how it looks. I like to keep as much away from the residents as you can.
That's one of the mitigation that we offer.
Right.
So what you're holding in your hand is another option, right? And that's eliminating both residences and just putting the building in the middle, all parking around.
Eliminate everything.
And just the commercial.
Well, you did it for a reason, right? And do your clients like that thought of it?
Have a choice.
In the beginning?
Yeah, they will, basically, while we're going out to do it, we'll fine tune it. They will probably get in another business there. They will not use the whole building. They will have a tenant.
Okay, so what you're saying is not to rent residential anymore, rent to another business. I like that.
And now you got your other income, maybe not through the
And
house.
hopefully you got more income with the business,
Yeah.
so we can pay the mortgage.
Yes.
And it'll kind of fit, I think, if we
Just
get a
rent
rendering
out
of
for
it.
the first few years.
Right.
We get, everybody's gonna move in.
Yeah. I'd rather see you use another business there, to be honest, my opinion, not the board's. This is my opinion, to see another
You
business.
see, down the road, they have a hardship to fill out the building. That's, I think in Herman, is it, no, the other building?
So what they should.
No, it's not full, no.
Well, you can build it in sections.
Yeah,
You can phase build it.
yeah.
We have it designed, we have it approved,
Right.
we have the concept, then you can phase it. There's-
Phase it.
Right. Can do 2 phases, 3 phases, that's what we
Oh,
can
yeah,
do.
you're right.
My opinion would be take care of the violations and
Right.
focus on something like this concept, is my opinion.
I agree.
This is gonna help with the violations.
We are stuck with the violations, I need to move forward.
You gotta get rid of the violations.
Because
yeah.
he's stuck with the
We do
business
this.
there, he
I-
purchased it.
I'm in favor of this.
I'm getting, yeah, I'm getting rid of the violations automatic.
You have existing violations, correct? That, okay.
There's litigation.
There's no-
violations
are based on this, because we don't.
Right.
We
I
can't
think
take
that's-
a 20-foot tree.
That's what the court
We
said.
didn't know that a 20-foot tree needs to be a permit for that.
Right. Well, in the village, everything needs,
Yeah.
I have now on the property, that tree is very dangerous, but I'm not touching it.
yeah, Marilyn?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't think you can have both. I think you really need
Okay.
one way or the other.
There are other members out tonight, but, you know, how Barbara would feel, but I think, Fred, you'd like to see the commercial building instead?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so I think,
I think it's problematic having both uses of the property.
yeah,
We'll design that.
I'm open to further exploration, but if you want my opinion as of now, I think it's problematic.
yeah. I would feel much better moving forward for your business, and to do that, I would be a little hesitant, you know, not undecided to move forward with a resident, just for the safety end of it.
I agree 100%.
So,
The only thing
we-
we call this option because of financial, but I agree with
Yeah.
this.
Well, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
do that. It's like, we don't wanna be stuck with something and push forward.
Well, we wanna see you
Yeah.
folks be successful,
Exactly.
you know, and have no problems.
Yeah.
So, that's basically what, you know, I think it's in both interests, the board and you folks. So,
Okay, we'll
does,
try.
Dave, do they have any,
Just a question,
ahead, sir.
Meantime, can I put some construction fence to keep my stuff, because I'm very old now? Between the residential and commercial?
you might need a building permit for the fence?
For the meantime.
No, for construction,
Why we
just temporary
going
fence, I wanna put
This-
temporary fence between
Oh.
my.
They said that everything needed, the building department said that anything on the site will need planning board approval.
Yeah,
So they are stuck, like, even maneuvering right now,
right.
they're like stuck. Okay, if they did something, it's a violation. So
Oh,
the question is, what,
that's true,
I
yes.
wanna divide myself from the residential,
temporary
I'm very
fence.
open, all material, everything is open. I wanna
For
divide
For safety,
my-
for
For
safety.
safety, I wanna divide myself,
I got you.
temporary fence,
Probably part of whatever stipulation they have, I would imagine, with regards to the violation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not familiar with what's going on with the violations and with the prosecution of it, so it's hard for me to
Or maybe
say.
we go to you go to the building inspector and see what they say. Let them do a determination.
They sent us to the planning
Oh,
board. They
sent
said
us-
you have to go through the approval process. So we're thinking,
Well, then what
we-
they're saying is that you can't do anything until you get an approval.
right.
So the site plan has to be up to date with the fencing and everything, and
Yeah, we can't render like an oral opinion on it.
No, so basically what we will do is we'll take the existing survey from the property. We'll show where we want to put the fence. I'm not sure if there's an action, or do we need to have a separate application for that action?
I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the, like, site plan or special, I mean, I can't imagine a scenario where you need site plan approval to put in a temporary fence.
Look at the code. There's
That
a lot-
that doesn't
there's a lot
seem,
of- I see, okay, there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that needs, like
they,
filling, grading a
you
little
can
bit
look
needs.
into that as far as what the litigation says.
yeah, who's prosecuted, who does the prosecutions in, on behalf of the village?
I was not involved in that, do you know? I'm not
There's an existing prosecution that's ongoing at
Yeah.
in Justice Court?
And then
waiting for the planning board, no?
you have a court date tomorrow, that's right?
13th.
The 13th?
Does anybody know, do you know who does the village
Well,
prosecutions?
Well, is it here in the village?
It's in the village,
Oh,
yes.
so maybe it's Judge Strauss.
No, he's gone, I think.
No, not Strauss.
No. Oh, he's still here. Forrest?
Is he gone?
No, he's the judge. You're thinking of Larry.
That's Strauss's.
Oh. Yeah, Strauss is still here.
Yeah?
So if, you don't know if you were in front of Judge Strauss or not, or?
You know the name? Do you have a violation here in front of you? Any court appearance ticket?
Well, get back to our attorney.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you contact me, let me know,
Right.
once you figure out exactly what the status is and who my contact would be on behalf of the village,
We'll try to figure that
who's
out.
doing the prosecutions, and then I can
Yeah, I'm sure.
see if I can get to the bottom
I'm
of it.
sure it's here at the court,
Yes.
the village court.
I'm sure it is, yeah.
And I only know Judge Strauss. So there may be another judge, but I don't know.
I don't think it's.
Yeah, my
I don't
firm's
think
just
it's
coming on
Strauss.
board, so, we don't have the institutional knowledge as to
And
know
I'm just
exactly
coming
what's
back
been
on
happening.
board too, so I
Yeah.
wasn't kept up of.
Okay,
you know,
so
who's around.
I
know
will be in
Larry's there.
contact with David and I will try to figure it out.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Anything else the board has?
No.
Good? Okay. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, have a good
Good
night.
to see you, Joe.
Good to see you back.
Okay, good to see you, Joel.
Both days.
Take care. Nice and easy.
I see you changed your first names. Okay. that's
Take care, Joe. We want to make a motion to adjourn? Do you have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we're closed. You can just hang in here for a minute.